Hi guys, and welcome to another video. In today's video I want to show you how to calculate variations and how to spot tactics. In this first video we're gonna have a look at chess.com's Puzzle Rush, which is a set of tactics which will increase in their difficulty. So in this episode we're gonna try to first solve the first 20 tactic puzzles, and I will do it slowly so that you can follow along and see my thinking process. So let me tell you one thing first before we start. So when you're doing the easy puzzles, you should always watch out for checks and captures because they are the key to solve the easy ones. With the more difficult ones, this won't be enough, but for the easy ones, this is usually enough. So what we do is first we check the checks and captures, and only then we proceed once we found all of them, and then we will judge which one looks best. So in the first position, when we look for checks and captures, you can always do this on your own, in your own pace, and then you can just pause the video and then we go ahead. So let me look for checks and captures. I will just systematically check all my pieces in all directions, and that's basically it, not to miss anything. So no checks and captures with this rook. With this rook, no captures, but one check. With this bishop, nothing. Okay, and so here we are. Of course, we should consider our move, even if we have no alternatives, but if we check here, this looks very good. It's back rank mate, and he can just drop a few pieces. So next position, as we said, we're gonna look for the checks and captures. Again, we check all the pieces, and with pieces I usually mean pieces, not pawns, because pawns, they are not that dangerous. If we find nothing with the pieces, we can check the pawns also, but usually the pawns, you see it immediately when they can check or capture, because they must be very close to something. So you can check them quite quickly. Yeah? You can see that this pawn cannot capture. Yeah? You don't need to check the pawns that carefully, but with the pieces you should have some systematic. The bishop is pinned, there is nothing to do. The rook has a check, okay. And there we go. This is again back rank mate. So the first ones you should always get right. So the next one is a bit more difficult, but we follow my principle and go ahead with the checks and captures. But we are in check ourselves. So one might think, yeah, does it matter where we go? But when we have a closer look, we have a check. And with this check, which is very forcing, we can win the game because we trade the queens and then our pawn will queen first. And all the other moves, they are just not forcing. They are not winning anything. But with the trade, which is forcing because it's a check, we win the game. So we go ahead with this. Next one, we check the checks and captures. By now we should see, okay, there is a back rank mate. And okay, we continue. Black just played knight to h5, and the position is full of captures. So we need to slow down and check all our options. So we take some time to go through the captures. I see I can capture knight, I can capture bishop, I can capture pawn, I can capture pawn. So out of all those, capturing the knight on h5 looks best because it's unprotected. And if I would take the bishop first, then he could take my rook. So we should go ahead with taking the knight. Be aware, our bishop is protected by the knight. So when he takes our bishop now, we can recapture by knight and we won a whole piece. Okay. So again, let's check the checks and captures. We can capture the rook, but it's basically just a trade. We can give a check here, but this blunders the rook. We have one more check, and this is mate. So there we are. When it's mate, we don't need to check any alternatives. Okay, checks and captures. I can capture on f2 by both pieces, but with the queen it's more forcing because it's check. Meanwhile, if I take with the rook, I get checkmated first. So I should go ahead with this capture. He needs to go to the corner and check. I should consider, and once we realize this pattern, we will checkmate him on the back rank. Okay, there we go. Next thing. Next position. He captured something. I have two captures, but we slow down. We look for all our captures. We check the pieces systematically. No capture, no capture. One capture here. This looks decent, but this looks even more appealing, and we checkmate. Okay. So in this position there is only one check, and as far as I can see, no capture, and it's becoming a bit more tricky because I think it's the first position where we cannot solve it with checks and captures. Let's figure this out. If he takes, what can we do? We can check, but he removes the king. I cannot really create any more threats. So when we are not happy with the outcome of checks and captures, we should consider threats. And when you see an open H line and you can bring the queen, this is a huge threat, threatening mate in 1, and there is basically no defense. Black can only move the f pawn, but then we can play g6 and he will be mated thereafter. Okay, he takes here. I think we can just take it because it doesn't allow him to give any checks. I actually think we could also not take it. So let's slow down and think, is it some disadvantage if our king is here? But I basically don't think so, because we always have g6 in any case, so we can take it. Okay, he can give the queen, but then it's over too. Okay, checks and captures. I can capture this guy, I can capture this guy, and like this. Okay, let's see. How is the material if I take the rook? We are already a piece down, so with this we are not winning the game, because he has bishop and knight versus a rook, which is maybe probably even better or much better for white. So we should check the other option. Can we checkmate by this way? And when we calculate a bit further, following the checks, we see it's checkmate. Okay, now we have another endgame. And this looks like a pawn race. White is very fast. He wants to queen the pawn on a8, and we need to hurry up. And once you have seen a lot of endgames, you won't run with the king because it's just too slow. So we need to run with a pawn, and we use a breakthrough. A breakthrough is a pawn sacrifice where you create an open line for your pawn so that it can run faster, and thereby we will queen first and we will queen with check, which makes the difference. So he drops his king back and then we queen. We have everything under control. This is a pattern you should know by now because we've seen it before. Check the checks and captures. Okay, we can capture this guy, but it's protected, so no back rank mate. But we can also capture this guy. And we have two options, but we should start thinking about the more forcing one first. When we take with the queen, we remember the pattern that we can, after this, checkmate on the back rank by following the next check. So this is mate. Okay, black just captured something, and I'm pretty sure some beginners in a game would just capture it back either way. But you should slow down and look for other captures, and there are some of them. Rook takes e8. This seems to be nothing special because he will just recapture and then we could again take the knight. But when you go systematically through all the pieces, we check the rook, we check the other rook, it has nothing to capture, we check the queen, then we will see, there is a pawn hanging, and this will lead to checkmate. But we shouldn't miss this. We should apply this certain systematics of thinking to not miss any captures. And we check and we checkmate. Okay, there we go. Next position. We should always start with the checks. Okay, we have a check here, but with a queen alone, we won't checkmate the king on the open board. So, do we have another check? We have a check here. This is actually made, so that's it. Bishop is pinned, so there's no defense. Okay, next position. We are kind of attacking, and again, we check some checks, but queen g6, it's made in 1, so we go for this one. No way out for the black king. Next position. Here we have quite few material, but there is a queen to capture and not really a lot else, so we can just go ahead move by move and take the queen. What else? We have nothing, we cannot check really, and we can just capture a pawn, but we should capture the queen, of course. And after this we can look again. Strong players usually, sometimes they decide when they just have one move, just play it, because you can think about the other problems later. So in this position we just have one capture again, and no checks, no threats. I cannot threaten any of the pieces because they're on light squares. And with the pawn, okay, it's a capture and a threat, and it's simply forking black. So that's the way to go, and we win material. Okay, captures and captures back. Okay, in this position, not much choice. We have a check here and a check here. And this looks like mate, so we go for this one. Okay, next position. What do we have here? He just attacked our knight, but we will systematically check our captures. We can capture this guy. If he captures back, we capture here. He captures and we take here and we win something. If instead we capture here, he takes here, we can also recapture, because in the end the rook will drop after the queen took our knight on f5. So this capture looks like winning a piece. We can, for the sake of being complete, check the other captures, but they are nothing special. So let's go ahead with this. Takes, and leaves the rook unprotected, and we just take it. Okay, next one. This one looks like we should play for mate. His king is quite alone. We have 3 attackers and he has just 1 defender. We cannot yet go rook d8, nor can we go queen d8 because it's protected, but we have another check. After this he needs to move the king, and then we can come rook d8 and it will be mate. Check, and if the rook takes, queen d8, mate. Okay, so next one. This is quite a basic mating pattern, so you should really know this. And we have some discovered attack against the king. So when we want to think about it, we have a lot of checks. We can check here, we can check here, but which bishop move is best? And once we realize that he's threatening our queen, we will realize the bishop belongs here, because then our queen is protected and he cannot take it, and after this king g1 is forced. We could take the queen, but we can also checkmate. That's it. Okay, there we are. 20 exercises finished. I hope you learned something from them. If you want to go up one level, you can watch the next video and see if we manage to go from 20 to 40. So hope you enjoyed the first one, and if you liked it, also like the video and subscribe to the channel. Would like it a lot, and hope to see you next time. Goodbye.